secret habitat belongs to her and her alone. So she will defend it from the other bears, from us. She is very quick to let us know if we're doing something she does not approve of. So she's a little bit feisty. Yeah, so Holly Bear comes to us from the state of Arkansas. When she was only a little under 6 months old, she was unfortunately separated from her mother due to a prescribed burn. So a man saw her and decided to keep an eye on her, see if her mother would return, and unfortunately they were not able to be reunited. So the man took her home and decided to raise her as an illegal pet bear. So he thought he was doing what was best, but pet bears are illegal in most states, and we also would not recommend them. As you can see, it takes a full staff of us to take care of only 3, and they are quite a handful. And so she was, you would think that having a pet bear, he would try to keep her under wraps a little bit. Not at all. So she was very quickly reported because people saw a little black bear cub riding shotgun in his truck wearing a diaper. And apparently he would pull over and let people pet her. So he was not very secretive, and that's why she was reported, and she was confiscated from his care and sent to the Appalachian Bear Rescue in Tennessee. There they gave her a bunch of tests to see if she would be able to go back into the wild, and we're not exactly sure what tests those were, and neither was she, because she failed every single one of them. So she was not prepared to go back into the wild. And so we were very happy to welcome her here on December 27th of 2013, and that's why we named her Holly, because of the time of year she arrived. She's like a holiday present to us. Do you guys have any questions about Holly?
So you said she arrived in December. Did that mess up her hyperphagia or hibernation cycle?
Yeah, so she was unfortunately kept up that year for hibernation. So she apparently started hibernating right after she arrived. And it was pretty impressive that she made it through that because she was not the appropriate way to go into hibernation. But she did survive that and she came out of hibernation. An interesting thing about Holly is the way that she hibernates. So hibernation, do you guys know what kind of brings that on? What kind of causes a bear to hibernate? Temperature? Yeah, so we kind of expect it to be the temperature, and that is partially true. So bears don't mind the cold at all, especially Tasha Bear. She loves playing in the snow when it's that time of year. But Holly here and all other black bears are very dependent on vegetation for food. So they eat 90% vegetation and only 10% animal protein in their daily diets. And that means that the cold kills off all of their food. So if they did not hibernate, they would not survive the winter. So that obviously varies state by state and region by region. For example, more southern states have food available for longer. For example, in Florida, they might not hibernate at all, or maybe even just for a month. So based on that, do you think a bear from Arkansas would hibernate for longer or shorter than a Minnesota bear? Shorter. Yeah, that's what you would expect. Oh, I'll give this one a second. So that's what you would expect from her, and that was very true as on her first year here. She ended hibernation in around March, but ever since then she has been right on with the Minnesota schedule. And that's very weird because usually they're kind of stuck in their genetics. Tasha Bear, our younger female, is from Kentucky, and she is still stuck on that Kentucky schedule even though she's been here for 10 years. So based on the fact that Holly was able to adapt, we think that she has some northern ancestors. So in the 1950s, there was a wildlife trade. Arkansas only had around 50 black bears left in the wild, and that was not going to be enough to sustain that population. So they reached out to Minnesota, Manitoba, and Wisconsin and asked for some more, and we sent down 250. So that created a huge boost in their population, and it also means that a lot of black bears down there have those northern genetics, and we think Holly must be one of them.
Did you guys just like go out in the wild and catch some bears and then send them down there?
I'm not exactly sure how that would have worked. Yeah, but that's a really good question. I will definitely look into that.
It's interesting.
Yeah, but now Arkansas has a pretty healthy population of black bears. And in return, we got some more wild turkeys. So that's why wild turkeys are doing so well up here in Minnesota. So this is Tasha. Like I said, she is from Kentucky and she is our youngest. So she is 11 and a half years old. All of our bears are born in January, so we just celebrated their half birthdays a few weeks ago. Whoa! Yeah.
Fun.
So Lucky is very fond of this private habitat, and he really likes it in there. That's his favorite den. He loves to sit in the crate even, and so he's not a big fan of Holly coming in here. But since Holly is the matriarch, there's not much he can do about that.
Holly, give the man some food. He's hungry.
Yeah, so Tasha here comes to us from Kentucky. She has a little bit of a similar backstory to Holly. She had a really rough start to her life. When she was 6 months old, her mother was unfortunately struck by a car. And so she was seen a couple days after the fact, still trying to nurse on her. So at 6 months old, they are way too young to survive on their own. They usually stay with their mothers until 16 to 18 months old. Oh,
Wow.
and here's some vocalizations
Yeah.
there. Yeah. So she was not sure what to do, and a man decided to take her home and raise her on his 50-acre farm. So Holly is doing some serious begging over here. She just ate her food. So if you see the bears beg, just know we're not starving them. You just saw her eat. She is so dramatic.
Clearly, they're withering away.
They're withering away, those poor things. So Tasha lived on this guy's 50-acre farm where she had free roam of the place, but she did not feel the need to go very far. He was giving her her favorite foods in the world, which were Pepsi and honey buns. And so she got a little bit of a head start to gaining some weight there, and she developed quite the sweet tooth, which she still has until this day. So once she got to around 1.5 years old, the man decided he would try and release her back into the wild.
Oh dear.
And although that's the time they usually leave their mothers in the wild, she did not have the skills to do that. She didn't have the education that their mother usually gives them for how to survive. She didn't have those natural instincts, and she had no natural fear of humans. And so for those reasons, her release was unsuccessful. He dropped her off in a state park, and she immediately made her way to a campsite where she started rooting through backpacks, coolers, tents. She was looking for that Pepsi again. And so this behavior very quickly got her reported as well. So it is normal for black bears to go up to campsites when food is not... Oh, please stay over the line. So it is normal for black bears to go up to campsites when food is not properly secured and when people are not there. But for her to have no fear of humans is very odd. And so that was definitely the right thing to report that. But unfortunately, she was deemed a nuisance bear and set to be euthanized for that reason. Once they develop that kind of behavior, there's nothing really you can do about it. If you try to relocate them, they'll just find their way back. They have incredible senses of direction. Even hundreds of miles away, they can find their way right back. And so there was a large public outcry about her euthanasia, and so it was cancelled, and we had space for her, so we decided to take her in 2016. Yeah, so she has been here ever since. She's definitely living the good life.
She'd like some honey buns.
She would. She definitely would.
That one went running.
Yeah, they called the little one down.
Unfortunately, there's no Pepsi tree.
Yeah. Those two must be getting into an argument. So if you saw that behavior there, if you heard those noises, were you surprised by the noises they were making? They're pretty odd. So they don't have the vocal cords to growl or roar. So if you see a bear in a movie doing that, it's usually an actor. There's a bear that's been taught to open its mouth and then they've dubbed it over. So polar bears can actually do that, but black bears and grizzly bears cannot. So they do a lot of gargling and teeth clacking and stuff like that.
It's like with hawks and eagles.
Yeah, they do. Was it the red-tailed or red-shouldered that they use for the eagle noise?
Because eagles just sound
Shrieky.
See, now I know what
Oh.
needs to be.
Yeah.
Keep on dropping stuff out of my back pocket.
Yeah. They are usually pretty silent. They only really make those vocalizations if they're upset at each other. So, for example, during mating season, they were all playing with each other, and when they play, they're completely silent. And when cubs play, they make no vocalizations whatsoever. But if they're fighting, they're making those gargling, teeth clacking, all that kind of noises. Yeah, we do have a lot of small rodents that live here because we do feed peanuts and stuff like that, and so they love to steal from our bears. So the bears won't usually do much about that. They will sometimes try to swat at them to get them away like we do with a fly on our food. Yeah, Tasha is our most skittish bear. So she is a little wary of the other two. We saw her get scared of butterflies the other day too.
Oh.
So we empty those bug catchers sometimes and they fly out and it terrifies her. So she's very skittish. Black bears are naturally skittish. He is just extra scared. Since he is our largest bear, he does have the most issues with overheating.
Now, why is he bigger? Is it because he's a male?
Yes, that's exactly it. So male bears tend to be around 20% larger on average. And he does have a pretty big head too. So they're usually larger because male bears get into a lot of fights with other male bears and they fight over females. So even though it is a matriarchal system, the females do get to choose the winner or the loser or neither of a fight. But they're doing this fighting to try and show off their strong genetics. So that's why he has that big head for those more developed fight muscles, and he is just generally bigger. But this guy has never had to fight for anything in his life. He has it real easy in here. He's been here since he was 6 months old. Yeah, do you guys have any questions about Lucky?
What's Lucky's backstory?
Yeah, so he got here, well, we're not exactly sure what his first 6 months of life looked like. All we know is that he was found wandering the streets of Madison as a cub. And he was trying to go up to people, beg for food. He was making cooing noises at people. He was trying to climb their legs. So very weird bear behavior. And since it is legal in Wisconsin to have a pet black bear with the correct permitting, although we don't recommend it, we do think that's part of the reason he ended up there. We think he might have been taken from his den as a cub to be a pet, and then they realized at 6 months old that he would make an absolutely terrible pet. And I love him, but I agree. I do not want him in my home. So, yeah, they are huge. Their poops are around half a pound to a pound, and they do go to the bathroom a lot, so they're not ideal pets. But either way, he had associated humans with food and had no natural fear of humans.
No.
So for that behavior, he got deemed a nuisance bear, and his options were to be euthanized or to come to a forever home. And you can see which one happened, but it wasn't that easy. So we had only opened a couple of months prior. This was in 2007. So they didn't really know to call us and ask if we had space. But we ended up hearing about him and calling them. And they said, you can have him, but he's going to be euthanized in an hour. So you have to get here before then.
Oh my gosh.
And that's like a 7 or 8 hour drive. We were not going to make that. So we did have some volunteers that lived 20 minutes from where he was that were able to swing by, put him in a dog carrier who's only 15 to 20 pounds at the time, and drive him the rest of the way up to Ely, where he has been ever since. And on that drive, he got a little bored, he got a little lonely, and he had to go sit on someone's lap in the front seat. So he is a very sweet bear. He is very comfortable with people. He loves when people talk to him. He recognizes the word handsome. He loves music. His favorite musician is Rihanna. Yeah, do you guys have any last questions before I start to wrap it up?
Am I allowed to play Rihanna?
Ooh. I'm not sure. Maybe not. Maybe not. We don't want to overwhelm him. It's a lot for them to have people out here, so we want to keep it pretty reliable for them. So I just want to thank you guys so much for coming today. If you have any other questions, you can feel free to ask me on the walk back inside or ask any of us in the museum. We love talking about bears, as you can tell, so don't worry about bothering us at all. But thank you guys for coming. We are a non-profit, so we really do appreciate it. Your admission, anything you buy in the gift shop, it does go directly to feeding our bears, and they love to eat, so I will thank you on their behalf. So thank you guys. If you wanted to support us in any other way, we do also